The rain slashed through Chicago's streets cold and unforgiving as Elliot Hayes stood alone at a deserted bus stop, clutching a worn backpack full of rejected resumes. At 48, with nothing but a fraying gray coat and a promise to his daughter, he was a man the world had forgotten. Then she appeared, a shivering woman in a business skirt, no coat, her polished life unraveling under the storm. One impulsive act of kindness, one moment of giving what little he had, would pull them into a web of secrets, redemption, and a truth neither could have imagined. What did Elliot just set in motion, and would it save him or break him for good? Welcome to A Story That Lingers. Before we continue, let us know in the comments, where are you watching? If these stories resonate with you, please hit that subscribe button to support the channel, because tomorrow we'll have another special story for you. The rain hammered Chicago's streets, a cold, relentless drumbeat that drowned out the city's usual hum. At a deserted bus stop on the corner of Halsted and 63rd, under a flickering street lamp, Elliot Hayes stood hunched against the wind. His fraying gray wool coat clung to his shoulders, soaked through, and his old sneakers squished with every shift of his weight. In his hands, he clutched a worn backpack stuffed with resumes that had yet to land him a job. At 48, with salt and pepper hair and green eyes shadowed by exhaustion, Elliot looked like a man carrying more than just the cold. He exhaled, his breath fogging in the air, and glanced at the pharmacy sign across the street, blinking 8:41 p.m. The bus was late again. Elliot's mind drifted to Sophie, his 16-year-old daughter, now living with a foster family an hour away. He hadn't seen her in months, not since the social worker said he couldn't provide stability. The memory of her tear-streaked face as he hugged her goodbye stung worse than the rain. He whispered to himself, "Sophie, I'm still trying. I promised I'd come back for you." His fingers tightened around the backpack where a crumpled photo of Sophie and his late wife Anna lay tucked inside. Anna's heart condition had taken her 3 years ago, and with her went their savings, their home, everything but the truck he now slept in, parked behind an abandoned warehouse. Through the curtain of rain, a figure emerged. A woman mid-30s hurried toward the bus stop, her high heels clicking on the wet pavement. She wore a white blouse and black skirt, no coat, her dark brown hair plastered to her face. Her arms were wrapped tightly around herself, hands trembling, as she ducked under the awning. Elliot glanced at her, then away, not wanting to stare. She was polished professional, but clearly suffering in the cold. Her breath came in short bursts as she rubbed her hands together, trying to warm them. The wind howled and she flinched, curling inward. Elliot's eyes flicked back to her. His coat wasn't much, threadbare and damp, but it was something. He could keep it, stay silent, like everyone else in the city. But something in her shivering form reminded him of Anna, or maybe Sophie, or maybe just someone who needed help. He couldn't ignore it. Without a word, he shrugged off his coat, the cold biting his skin through his checkered shirt. He stepped toward her and held it out. She startled, her brown eyes wide. "You don't have to do that," she said, her voice shaky but firm. Elliot managed a tired smile. "I've lost enough today. This coat's the only thing I've got left to give." She hesitated, her gaze searching his face. "But you'll freeze." "Not tonight," he said softly, draping the coat over her shoulders. The warmth surprised her. The coat smelled faintly of laundry soap and coffee, comforting in its worn simplicity. She pulled it tighter, almost instinctively. "Thank you," she whispered. Elliot nodded, folding his arms against the cold. They stood in silence, the rain pattering around them. After a moment, she turned to him. "What's your name?" "Elliot," he said. "And you?" "Vanessa," she replied. "Nice to meet you, Elliot." He gave a faint chuckle. "Yeah, you too, Vanessa." She glanced at him, her expression softening. "You shouldn't have given me your coat." "Probably not," he said, "but I couldn't just let you freeze out here." The low rumble of a bus broke the silence. Headlights pierced the rain as it pulled up. Vanessa stepped toward it, then turned back. "Do you have somewhere to go?" Elliot shrugged. Somewhere he said not mentioning the warehouse or the nest of blankets in his truck. She reached into her purse and pulled out a business card. "If you ever need anything, call me." She handed it to him, her fingers brushing his. He took it, slipping it into his backpack without looking. "Thanks," he said, not expecting to use it. People said things like that all the time. Most didn't mean it. Vanessa stepped onto the bus, glancing back one last time. Elliot stood under the street lamp, shivering, but still offering that faint smile. As the bus pulled away, she sank into a seat, pulling the coat tighter, her heart heavy with something she couldn't name. Elliot trudged through the rain, his boots crunching on the wet gravel as he reached the warehouse. His '98 Ford pickup sat in the shadows, rusted and battered, its heater long dead. He climbed into the front seat where blankets and a pillow formed a makeshift bed. From the glove compartment, he pulled a small tin box and opened it. Inside was a faded photo of Anna, her smile bright and Sophie at 10, her crooked grin matching her mother's. "Good night, Anna," he whispered. "Good night, Sophie." He leaned back, the cold seeping through the window, and let memories wash over him. He'd once been Elliot Hayes, mechanical engineer building factories and bridges. He and Anna weren't rich, but they were happy. Sophie's laughter filled their small house, her drawings taped to every wall. Then Anna's heart condition worsened. By the time they caught it, it was too late. She was gone in 6 months. Elliot quit his job to care for her, and the bills piled up. He sold the house, moved with Sophie to a tiny apartment, then a motel until there was nothing left but the truck. He'd shielded Sophie as long as he could, turning canned soup into adventures, the truck into a castle. But last year a social worker stepped in. Sophie needed stability, they said. Elliot didn't fight. He knew they were right. Through blurry eyes, he signed the papers, hugged her, and promised, "Just for now, kiddo. I'll come back." Since then, every day was a grind. He sent resumes, stood in job fair lines, studied at the library. Tonight, another rejection weighed on him. Still, he shaved every morning, kept his hair neat because Sophie needed to believe things could get better, and he needed to look like he believed it too. As he pulled a blanket over himself, he thought of Vanessa, the woman at the bus stop. He didn't know why he'd given her his coat. Maybe he just needed to feel like he could still do something good. He closed his eyes, the rain drumming on the truck's roof, and drifted into an uneasy sleep. Vanessa stepped into the sleek lobby of her high-rise apartment, the warmth jarring after the cold. The doorman nodded, but she barely noticed her heels clicking on the marble as she headed to the elevator, still wrapped in Elliot's coat. In her penthouse on the 32nd floor, silence greeted her. No laughter, no music, just the hum of appliances and the distant howl of wind. She dropped her purse on the glass table and peeled off the coat, her fingers brushing something in the pocket. Curious, she pulled out a folded paper, worn and creased. She unfolded it carefully. In childish handwriting it read, "Daddy, I love you. We'll be together soon. Sophie." A small heart was drawn beside it. Vanessa froze, the words blurring as her throat tightened. She sank onto her couch, the coat in one hand, the note in the other. Sophie. The name echoed in her mind. She saw Elliot's tired eyes, the way he'd clutched his backpack, the weight in his voice. This wasn't just a man who'd given her his coat. This was a father carrying his daughter's hope close to his heart. Tears welled up unbidden. She hadn't cried in years, not since she was a kid in Chicago's South Side, hungry and cold, waiting for someone to notice her. Vanessa Reed was no longer that girl. She'd clawed her way out of poverty through foster homes and scholarships to build Horizon Innovations, a tech company worth millions. But success came at a cost. She'd left her younger sister Emma behind in a group home, too focused on her own survival to look back. The guilt gnawed at her, buried under boardroom deals and late-night emails. Tonight, Elliot's kindness cracked something open. She hugged the coat, its faint scent of soap stirring memories of a stranger who'd given her a scarf in a storm when she was 10. She'd never seen him again, but that moment had kept her going. Now Elliot had done the same. She folded the note, her resolve hardening. She wouldn't let this moment slip away. The next morning, Vanessa sat at her desk in Horizon's glass-walled office, Chicago's skyline stretching beyond. Her coffee sat untouched as she stared at the note, Sophie's handwriting seared into her mind. She buzzed her assistant, Rachel. "I need you to find someone," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Who?" Rachel asked, pen poised. "His name's Elliot. No last name. He was at the Halstead and 63rd bus stop last night around 8:30. Gave me his coat. Find him." Rachel blinked. "That's not much to go on, Ms. Reed." Vanessa slid her business card across the desk. "He has this. Start there. And Rachel, keep this quiet." Over the next few days, Vanessa's team worked discreetly. They pulled traffic camera footage, spotting a man matching Elliot's description. They traced bus routes, cross-referenced phone records from Vanessa's card, and finally hit pay dirt Elliot Hayes, former engineer, now working odd jobs at a construction site in Inglewood. Rachel handed Vanessa a thin folder. No permanent address. He's been seen sleeping in a truck near a warehouse. Vanessa flipped through the pages: an old driver's license, a LinkedIn profile, frozen in time, a layoff notice from 2022. "Where is he now?" she asked. "Englewood," Rachel said. "The site's off 59th Street. Vanessa stood. "Get a car ready, I'm going." Rachel hesitated. "Ms. Reed, are you sure we could send someone?" "No," Vanessa cut in. "This is personal." An hour later, Vanessa's sedan pulled up at the construction site, gravel crunching under the tires. Through the rain-streaked window, she saw Elliot hauling bricks. His shirt soaked, his movements steady but weary. She stepped out, her heels sinking into the mud. "Elliot," she called. He turned, squinting through the rain, then froze. His face flushed with embarrassment as he wiped his hands on his jeans. "Vanessa." "What are you doing here?" "I need to talk," she said. "Can we grab a coffee?" He glanced at the foreman, then back at her. "I've got another hour." "I'll wait," she said, pulling Elliot's coat tighter around her. In a small diner nearby, they sat across from each other, steam rising from their coffee cups. The rain pattered against the window. Vanessa slid the note across the table. "I found this in your coat." Elliot's face paled. He reached for it, his fingers trembling. It's from my daughter, Sophie." "Tell me about her," Vanessa said softly. Elliot exhaled, his voice low. "She's 16, smart, kind, loves drawing. Her mom, Anna, passed 3 years ago. Heart condition. After that, things fell apart. I lost my job, our house. Sophie's with a foster family now. I'm trying to get her back, but..." He trailed off, staring into his coffee. Vanessa leaned forward. "That night you gave me your coat. Why?" Elliot shrugged. "You were cold. It's not a big deal." "It is to me," she said. "You reminded me of something I'd forgotten. What it means to care." He looked up, confused. "You don't even know me." "I want to," she said, "and I want to help. Come work for me, Elliot, at Horizon Innovations." He laughed, a bitter sound. "Me, I'm not a tech guy. I fix pipes, not software." "Not tech," she said. "People. I need someone to remind us what matters. A role called People's Voice. You'd share your story, help us build a better company." Elliot shook his head. "I don't belong in your world, Vanessa. I'm a nobody." "You're wrong," she said firmly. "You don't need a degree to teach people how to care. You did that for me without even trying. When I was a kid, someone gave me a scarf in a storm. I never forgot it. Now it's my turn to pay it forward." Elliot stared at her, his jaw tight. "Why me?" "Because you're still fighting," she said. "For Sophie, for yourself. That's more than most people do." He looked down, his voice barely audible. "I don't know if I can." "Just try," she said. "One meeting, that's all I'm asking." After a long pause, he nodded. "Okay, one meeting." Elliot stood in Horizon's sleek lobby a week later, feeling like an imposter in his faded checkered shirt and jeans. The glass walls and buzzing employees made his stomach churn. Vanessa greeted him with a warm smile. "You made it." "Barely," he muttered, tugging at his collar. She led him to a conference room where a dozen department heads waited, their expressions polite but skeptical. Vanessa introduced him. "This is Elliot Hayes. He's here to help us rethink how we treat each other." Elliot cleared his throat, his hands sweaty. "I'm not a suit," he started. "I don't know your world, but I know what it's like to lose everything, to wake up in a truck wondering if you'll ever matter again. A few weeks ago, I gave a stranger my coat at a bus stop, not because I'm a hero, but because I needed to believe I could still do something good. I'm here to ask you, when's the last time you did something good, just because?" The room was silent. Then a young woman spoke up. "I ignored a coworker crying in the break room last week. I didn't know what to say." Elliot nodded. "Next time, just listen. That's enough." By the end of the meeting, the skepticism had softened. Over the next weeks, Elliot held more sessions, sharing stories of his life. Anna's laugh, Sophie's drawings, the cold nights in his truck. Employees started opening up, sharing their own struggles, burnout, stress, loneliness. The break room grew louder with laughter, and productivity climbed not from pressure, but from connection. Vanessa watched from her office, amazed. Elliot wasn't just changing her company, he was changing her. One day he invited her to Hope Haven, a community center where he volunteered. As they walked through the bright halls filled with kids' artwork and laughter, a man approached. Vanessa Marcus Dunn, the center's manager, said, his eyes wide. "I haven't seen you since you were a kid here." Vanessa froze. "You remember me?" Marcus smiled. "How could I forget? You were always scribbling business plans in the library. Your sister Emma, she's a volunteer here now." Vanessa's breath caught. "Emma's here." Marcus nodded, leading her to a classroom where a young woman was teaching kids to paint. Emma looked up, her face mirroring Vanessa's shock. Vanessa's voice broke. "Emma, I'm so sorry. I left you behind. I thought I had to survive." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I was angry for a long time, but I'm okay now. I missed you." They hugged, the years of pain melting away. Vanessa whispered, "I'll never leave you again." Later, Vanessa told Elliot, "I owe this to you. You brought me back to who I used to be." Elliot shook his head. "You did that yourself. I just gave you a coat." She laughed, tears in her eyes. "It was more than a coat, Elliot." Weeks later, Vanessa called Elliot to her office. "I've got something for you," she said, handing him a folder. Inside were legal papers granting him custody of Sophie. "I hired a lawyer," she said. "You're getting her back." Elliot's hands shook as he read the documents. "How? Why?" "Because you deserve it," she said, "and Sophie deserves you." That evening at Hope Haven, Elliot waited in the playroom, his heart pounding. The door opened and Sophie ran in, her backpack bouncing. "Dad," she cried, throwing her arms around him. Elliot held her tight, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry, kiddo. I promised I'd come back." Sophie sobbed into his shoulder. "I knew you would." He pulled a faded scarf from his pocket, Anna's old keepsake. "Your mom would be so proud of you," he said, wrapping it around her neck. Vanessa stood in the doorway, smiling through tears. Marcus joined her, whispering, "You did good, Vanessa." She shook her head. Elliot did. A year later, Horizon Innovations buzzed with energy. Elliot stood on a stage in the atrium facing hundreds of employees. Behind him, his old gray coat hung in a glass frame, a plaque reading, "One small act, one big change." "Today we're launching Kindness Week," he said, his voice steady. "It's not about grand gestures. It's about showing up, listening, caring, because one moment can change everything." The crowd applauded, many wiping tears. Vanessa, now a regular at Hope Haven, renamed it Anna's Haven in honor of Elliot's wife. She and Emma had rebuilt their bond, and Vanessa became the center's biggest donor. Elliot and Sophie lived in a small apartment, their walls covered with Sophie's new drawings. Elliot and Vanessa had grown close, sharing lunches, late-night talks, and quiet walks by Lake Michigan. They weren't a couple, not yet, but something deeper bound them. Trust, gratitude, hope. One rainy evening, Elliot and Sophie stood at the Halstead bus stop sharing an umbrella. Sophie leaned against him. "Dad, do you think things happen for a reason?" Elliot smiled. "I don't know, kiddo. But I know one thing: sometimes all it takes is one person believing in you to change everything." Across the street, Vanessa watched them, Elliot's old coat draped over her arm. She approached a shivering teenager at the stop and slipped her business card into the kid's hand. "If you need help, call me," she said, walking away. The rain fell softer now, as if the city itself was listening. And somewhere in the quiet spaces between the drops, a promise lingered. One act of kindness could echo forever.